Donald Trump was just humiliated by a brand new Fox News poll that shows that his numbers are continuing to tank, and it couldn't have come at a worse time, because as Trump's numbers crater, the one strategy that he thought might save him in the midterms is now falling apart. You see, at the same time these brutal polls have been dropping, a federal judge appointed by Trump himself just blocked his attempt to gerrymander Texas, blowing a massive hole in his plan to build a red wave. Trump wanted to lock down Republican power for 2026, but after this week, everything might soon be turning blue. So stick around as we break down this devastating new poll and the redistricting disaster behind it, and don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for more. So Donald Trump has been pushing for an all-out redistricting war across the United States, and while at first it looks like the Republicans could be pulling ahead in their control of Congress, things are quickly starting to fall apart this week. Looking back to the month of August, all of this mess started when Donald Trump was begging the state of Texas to give him 5 more seats in Congress, conveniently after his polls went from not so good to worse than it's ever been. Trump even started pushing this idea by saying that he deserved extra seats in Congress simply because he was so popular, as if that makes any sense in a democracy.
We should have many more seats in Congress in California. It's all gerrymandered. And we have an opportunity in Texas to pick up 5 seats. We have a really good governor, and we have good people in Texas. And I won Texas. I got the highest vote in the history of Texas, as you probably know. And we are entitled to 5 more seats.
I don't know.
Now, first of all, just because you win an election does not mean you get to rig seats in Congress. And secondly, Trump did not have the biggest presidential victory in Texas. That title still belongs to Democrats by over 30 points, so not even close. But regardless of Trump's delusions, he continued pushing full force to get red states to gerrymander as many Democratic districts out of existence as possible. And for the last 2 months, it looked like he might be successful. Looking at a map provided by the Cook Political Report, both red and blue states jumped into the redistricting war, and even with potential Democratic redistricting, Republicans were still going to be pulling ahead by just a few seats. And beyond just this map of already committed states, there were several more on the way. But everything started to fall apart for Trump last week when the state of Indiana became the first to stand up to his demands.
We are following some unexpected news out of Indianapolis this afternoon. Indiana's Republican-controlled state Senate is saying no to President Trump, no to Vice President Vance, and no to Indiana Governor Mike Braun. All of them have been putting pressure on state lawmakers to redraw Indiana's congressional maps, further gerrymandering the state to help Republicans gain 2 extra seats in next year's midterm elections. In fact, the vice president made 2 in-person visits to the state capitol, prompting Governor Braun to call a special session of the Indiana General Assembly specifically for state lawmakers to vote on redistricting. Well, just a few minutes ago, Indiana Senate President Roderick Bray announced, despite all the pressure from Washington, there are not enough votes in the Indiana Senate to support redrawing Indiana's congressional maps mid-census. So he says he will not call the Senate back into session as the governor has requested. And keep in mind, Indiana Senate has a supermajority of Republicans. Many of them say they have heard overwhelmingly from their constituents that they do not want more gerrymandering here in the state. Indiana Democrats are celebrating a rare win against redistricting in a deep red state. For the time being, it's a big defeat for the governor and for the White House.
Despite calls from Donald Trump, J.D. Vance, and even their own governor, Indiana Republican lawmakers refused to redraw the state congressional districts. This was a huge loss for Donald Trump, especially because Indiana has strong Republican supermajorities. They could have easily supported Trump's plans, but they were more concerned with upsetting their own voters. And while other Republican states are still figuring out their plans to gerrymander, Trump was just hit with another disaster in the state where this whole battle began. In a surprise ruling, a federal judge has blocked Texas's new district maps, citing racial gerrymandering and labeling them flat out illegal. And the best part, this judge was appointed by Donald Trump himself.
Fox News Alert in Texas, where a federal court has blocked the state's brand new congressional map set to go into effect for the 2026 midterms. The ruling means that Texas needs to stick with the congressional maps that were passed in 2021. Judge Jeffrey Brown, a Trump appointee, says of the new maps, quote, "It was much more than just politics. Substantial evidence shows that Texas racially gerrymandered the 2025 map."
After literally beginning the fight for redistricting, Texas was just told to bring back their old maps. But California is already getting their state redistricted, and another judge in Utah is now forcing the state to give a seat back to the Democrats. This means that not only were Trump's plans blocked for the time being, but now the Democrats will gain even more seats in his redistricting war than Republicans, a major backfire for Trump. And as you can imagine, Governor Abbott and Texas Republicans are already begging the Supreme Court to step in and save them, although I will say they haven't committed to anything, so who knows if they actually will or not.
Let me ask you the last question. The court decision on the issue of congressional district in your state. I do believe you'll win on appeal, but this is kind of par for the course lately, isn't it?
Well, it is par for the course. Also par for the course for the judge who issued the opinion. The judge who issued the opinion was overturned by a Fifth Circuit en banc court last year for his most recent decision in redistricting, and he got it wrong then. He got this one wrong now. And look at the senior judge who presided over this matter in this redistricting case, a three-judge panel. The senior judge took that judge to task, the judge who wrote the opinion, and eviscerated him in more than a 100-page opinion. I've never seen language so harsh by one federal judge against another federal judge, and I feel confident the United States Supreme Court is going to agree with that senior judge from the Fifth Circuit that this decision was a gross misjudgment.
The state of Texas made their congressional maps by chopping up Black and Hispanic communities, something that states are not supposed to do. And even if the Supreme Court does end up letting Texas pass some new form of maps, they may have wished that they have held back like Republicans in Indiana. Because of how many Democratic voters live in Texas, gerrymandering their maps dilutes many districts from being a Republican stronghold to being extremely close in an election. This means that any large flip in votes could give Democrats several new seats anyway, and there's some shocking new polling out that could hint that that's exactly what's going to happen. First, from Fox News itself, the American public's views of the economy under Donald Trump have dropped from bad to even worse, and this has once been Trump's strongest issue.
But the issue of affordability, the issue of how people feel about the economy popping up in our latest polls, personal financial situation now, excellent, good, 40%, only fair or poor, 60%. You can see that changing from July. Condition of the U.S. economy, also a perception totally upside down, 76 to 25, and that changing a bit. And then economic conditions for the nation and you personally, again, 25% positive, 76 negative for the nation, and then 60-40 personally. So
now, Trump has been tanking on individual issues like economics for a while now, but something even more shocking came from generic ballot polling last week. The generic ballots ask people if they prefer Democrats or Republicans more if the midterms were held tomorrow, and many of these polls have been coming back with Democrats taking a 3 to 5% lead over Republicans. But in one survey led by right-leaning pollster Richard Barris found Democrats had a nearly 8% lead, and here he is warning Republicans about this huge shift on Steve Bannon's show this week.
Richard Barris, give us the flashing warning sign, sir.
Yeah, this is a backdrop of redistricting wars, Steve, which after the ruling in Texas, Democrats are up 3 seats right now. I mean, if the ruling stands, they would be up 3 seats. Let's even assume they do not, right? Looking at the polling, we got, if you can put it up, that'd be great. But I mean, we have the trend from our own polling we can show. We always have pretty close generic ballots, Steve. They don't blow open very often, right? I mean, look at this trend. And this was released a few days ago. It's Democrat
Hang on,
plus
just
8.
explain, just quickly explain to somebody, maybe the new viewers and listeners, a generic ballot. Why is this important? Why you do it consistently, and why it's always pretty close?
This is, they call it generic because we don't cite specific candidates. We're literally asking people about, would you vote for the generic Republican or the generic Democrat if the elections were today in your congressional district? So this is a House vote, a generic vote for the House of Representatives. And we track it all the time because, of course, it gives you the national mood, number one, but also it gives you an idea of where the House is going, where people are thinking, where voters are considering when the elections come up and who they're going to vote for from the House of Representatives. That poll was done on the 10th of November, which is very important here, guys. It went from Democrat 1.2 to Democrat 7.8. And it almost all came from, by the way, some of the people who say they're undecided or they're picking somebody else, a third party, going to the Democrats, and a bunch of Republicans actually saying, I'm voting third party or not voting at all.
If Democrats have even a 5% lead in the polls, that could lead to gains in the midterms, but an 8-point lead could be a disaster for Republicans. In red states like Texas and Ohio that are gerrymandering their Democratic districts, this could lead to red seats actually flipping blue. Now, I don't know if it's the economy, the Epstein files, or just the general disaster of his administration, but Donald Trump is causing huge gains for the Democrats as they get ready for the midterm elections. And with even one of his own federal judges siding against his gerrymandering, it looks like Donald Trump's plans for a midterm wave have completely backfired. But as always, let me know what you think down in the comments below, and don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for more.